Today I'm going to be explaining exactly how long it's going to be taking you to learn piano, and it really depends on which of the three student classes that you belong to: the casual, the motivated hobbyist, or the professional aspirationist. First up is the casuals, and I would define a casual as somebody that's looking to learn one or two pieces for themselves or to play for others, but mainly they're looking for that favorite pop song that they've always wanted to learn how to play. More specifically, casuals aren't going to need a whole lot of music theory. They will need some though, and I'll explain that here in a second. And you're not really going to be getting into the nitty gritty of like really fantastic piano technique, because you're not really going to need it to play Clocks by Coldplay. Some skills you're going to have to know to be a casual piano student. One is the layout of the keyboard. You're going to have to know that this is an E, and that's a G, and that's a G sharp, and things like that. Because even if you're learning super easy pieces and pop songs, you're going to have to be able to read the basic notes. I mean, sometimes they write in the notes, but not often. And it really, really helps, even if they do give you the notes, to be able to translate them onto the keyboard. So learning the layout of the keyboard is a must. Learning basic note reading. Some people will disagree with me on this, but learning basic note reading is a must. Like I say, not all the time in the music are they going to tell you that this is an E. And so it really helps to know that. And I'm going to be honest with you, you can master note reading in like an afternoon. I have a lot of lessons on it. And if you watch them, I'll try to include a link in the description for you. If you watch them, you'll have mastered this and you won't even be thinking like, oh, do I need to learn how to read music? It's not that hard. And I have a good way of explaining it. So watch those lessons. In addition to reading notes and figuring out where they are on the keyboard, you're going to have to know chords. And chords is the number one skill you're going to need as a casual piano player, because a lot of times in our songs, they won't write out the left hand for you. They won't write out A, C sharp, E. Well, they'll write out instead is just A. And you'll have to know that that's an A major chord. Let's take a look at a specific example. So here we have Clocks by Coldplay, and I kind of alluded to this earlier in the lesson. This is something that a casual piano player will typically see. They're going to see very simple sheet music with sometimes the notes written in. They were nice here, but like I said, you still have to be able to translate that onto the piano. And like I mentioned also, is that they don't give us the left hand. Instead, they say C, over here G minor, and then D minor. So it really helps to know, like the back of your hand, that, oh, C major's here. Oh, G minor's here. Oh, D minor. And as you can see, just by having those basic skills, I was able to play Clocks by Coldplay in just a few seconds. One question I want to answer really quick is, as a casual, are you going to need one of these piano lesson books? And I'd say 50-50, it depends. I'm going to be honest with you, I think by getting this book and doing about half of it, it's going to give you all the skills you're going to need to play these pop songs that I'm talking about. I promised you in the intro I would be giving you an exact number of how long it's going to take you to learn piano. So here is the numbers for the casuals. Are you ready? Remember that the goals of the casual is to learn 1, 2, maybe 3 songs so that they can play for themselves and others. And how long is this going to take you? I would say it's going to take you anywhere, are you ready? Between 5 days. Within 5 days, you can get to a point where you're like, wow, I can almost play Coldplay or whatever song that you want to play. You can probably learn a lot of these basic skills and get one song done in about 5 days with diligent effort, like 15, 30 minutes a day. 5 weeks is what it's going to take you if you want to learn, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 songs. And then by the end of the 5 weeks, you should be able to learn quite a few songs, and you will be impressed with the progress you can make if you practice diligently. I want to circle back for a second and mention that as a casual, you should be practicing anywhere between, I don't know, like 15 minutes a day to 30 minutes a day, and I don't know, 2 to 7 days a week. It's really, really open-ended with casuals because it's really what you want to learn. And at the end of this lesson, I'm going to tie all these categories together and explain exactly how you can find your path forward learning piano so that you can make the best progress possible. But first, I want to talk about the next category, which is where most of you fall under, which is the motivated hobbyist. If I had to define a motivated hobbyist, I would define it like this: somebody that is looking to learn piano beyond just a few songs. They actually want to learn how piano works, but they also may not have the time or ambition to become a professional. Specifically as a hobbyist, you're going to be working with the love of your life here, the piano lesson book. I especially like these ones from Alfred. You can check this out. I'll try to include a link in the description. I also have courses over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. Those courses are mostly focused for the motivated hobbyist. And here's what you're going to have to know as a motivated hobbyist. So remember when I said the layout of the keyboard? Well, you're still going to have to know that as a motivated hobbyist. However, you're also going to have to know note reading, but unlike the casuals, you're going to have to know note reading like the back of your hand, like D, A, E, D, B. You need to get that good. Another skill you're going to need as a motivated hobbyist is music theory, and I actually recommend you pick up a music theory book like this one. Again, it's Alfred's. Or some courses over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. Specifically, you're going to have to know a lot about chords, not just your triad chords. You're going to have to know about seventh chords, chord progressions, arpeggios, things like that. So you're really taking things to the next level. I would also get a scales and arpeggios and cadence book. I highly recommend you pick up this book here. You're really going to be getting into the nitty gritty of how piano works. So you're actually going to need to pick up these books. A couple other skills you're going to need are ear training, which is being able to hear like, oh, that's a major chord. Oh, that's a minor chord. Oh, that's a diminished chord. You should be able to know that basic stuff. And then you also want to be working on sight reading, which is being able to look at a piece of music from sight. I have a lot of lessons on that topic, and I'll make sure to include a link in the description for when the lesson's over. As a motivated hobbyist, how long should you be practicing each week? I would be practicing anywhere between half an hour and an hour a day, at least, if you can, 5 days a week. But I do understand a lot of us motivated hobbyists have jobs, might have children and things like that. So 5 days a week is optimal. If you can get 3, that would be pretty cool. So I want to deliver on the promise I had in the intro, which is explaining exactly how long it's going to take a motivated hobbyist to learn piano. And I'm going to give you an exact number. That's what we're here about on this channel. I'm not going to tell you, oh, you can learn piano in 7 days. You can do it like this. No, this is the real number. Are you ready for it? It's anywhere between 3 months to a year. In 3 months with diligent practice, half hour to an hour a day, up to 5 days a week if you can, you will notice some pretty big improvements in your ability to play. In 3 months' time, you can probably make your way almost through this entire lesson book with diligent practice. And by the end of this book, you're going to be playing things like The Entertainer, let's see here, Jericho. Everybody remembers Jericho. I'm just kidding. Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. So there's actually a lot of really classic, awesome songs in here. By the end of the 3 months, you can get to stuff like this and you can say to yourself, wow, I've really come a long way. After a year of diligent practice, you can probably start moving on to some more complicated things. I mean, everybody's a little different, but in a year with diligent practice, you can go from knowing nothing to being able to start maybe tackling some like Beethoven sonatas or something, just starting out, you know what I mean? Even though most of you were motivated hobbyists, you still want to pay attention to the rest of this lesson because you're going to find that it's going to come full circle here in just a few minutes, and I'm going to tie everything together. First, I want to just take a couple of minutes to talk about the professional aspirationist, because I actually know that there's a few of you in our community. The professional aspirationist, as the name implies, is somebody who wants to pursue music as a career. So not only do you have to know all those basic skills, you need to become super proficient at all music theory, sight reading, ear training, learning new pieces on your own. You really need to dig deep, and the details matter the more and more you come towards this towards the professional field of music, because things get very competitive. So if you're a professional aspirationist, I first recommend you get a lesson teacher, or a private teacher, I should say. Because if you're willing to pursue it as a career, you should be willing to invest in some lessons. I understand that if you're not able to, you know what I mean? But if you want to be a professional, I honestly think that a private lesson teacher is the way to go. And then getting like lesson books, theory books, courses over my website is a must. and you have to take that stuff. It's basically the motivated hobbyist, but you're taking things very seriously. For example, as a motivated hobbyist, you may be learning your scales 1 octave, or maybe even 2 octaves, right? Just to learn them, get them under your fingers. But as a professional or a professional aspirationist, you're going to have to learn them 4 octaves with the metronome at like 120 beats per minute. So you're going to have to, again, take things up to that next level. More specifically, as a professional aspirationist, you're going to be gearing yourself towards music school or a conservatory. So what I recommend you do, if you're a young adult and you want to go into conservatory or music school, you need to go to their website and you need to look up the requirements for the things that you need to know for your audition to get into the school, because every school's a little bit different. So maybe a year or 2 in advance, get a private lesson teacher, print out the stuff that you need to get ready for, and give it to that teacher, and they can work with you to get you ready. That's what I did, and I really recommend, if you're a professional, that you do the same. Everybody's favorite topic: how long do you need to practice each day as a professional aspirationist? 2 to 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, I'm serious. You could even practice 8 hours a day if you want. Remember, this is the big leagues. This is professionalism. You are going to encounter a lot of competition in this field, and it really, really helps to be well prepared. And as promised, I'm going to give you an exact number on how long it's going to take you to learn as a professional aspirationist. Are you ready? Drum roll. Forever. I know I said an exact number, but if you think about it, as a professional aspirationist, you love music, you want to continue on with it forever. You're married to it, basically. So you might as well be in it for the long haul. And the other thing I want to mention is music is a thing where you can never master it all, right? There's so much music theory and different pieces and styles and composers and instruments. You would never master it all. I've never met a person that's mastered every instrument, all the theory, all that stuff. Never happened. So it is a lifelong pursuit, and it will take forever. So now I want to talk about the climax of the whole lesson, the whole thing that we've been building to, which is your path forward learning piano. Because like I said in the intro, you might not fall into one category. You may be like, well, sometimes I'm casual, and then sometimes I'm motivated, and then maybe I want to play in Carnegie Hall. Well, maybe not, but you know what I mean. We all fall into different categories. And up next, I'm going to tell you how it all combines together and it makes sense for you. It's time for the pinnacle of the whole lesson, the whole point of why we're here, which is your path forward learning piano. Remember that there are 3 groups of students: the casuals, the motivated hobbyists, or the professional aspirationists, and you probably fall mostly into one of those 3 categories. However, I do want to mention this. You can actually belong to multiple categories, or if you belong to one category, you can borrow some of the ideas I presented in each. For example, most of you are motivated hobbyists, but you can certainly learn all of your chords and play your favorite pop tunes while also learning the nitty-gritty of learning how to play piano. In fact, I recommend that if you're a motivational hobbyist. Just learn all your chords and then pick a few songs that really get you going, really, really motivate you, or they're just fun to play, and add those into the mix of your practice to break up the monotony and make things fun. And another example is the casual. So as a casual, you can certainly learn some of the other things that I talked about in the other 2 groups. Like, you as a casual could learn about music theory, maybe start a piano lesson book, start learning that stuff, and actually it will help you learn those easier pieces much faster. So think about where in the 3 groups you fall, but also think about maybe borrowing some ideas from those other groups. I have 2 more important sections in this lesson. One is basically some practice tips to get the most out of your practice session. And then I have a final tip which we'll wrap up the whole lesson with. But first, I just want to say thank you so much to all those that have supported the channel over the years, from the regular viewers to the mods, to the channel members, to the people that enroll courses over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. Thank you so, so much. Here's a bonus section for you. I actually have 5 tips to help you get the most out of your practice sessions, no matter which of the 3 groups that you belong to. Tip number 1, practice as many days a week as you can. I find that it's better to practice a little bit more consistently than it is to practice a whole lot all at once. Number 2, try to practice at the same time every day. Practice, just like anything, is a habit, and if you do it at the same time, you'll kind of set up your body and mind for this pattern. And if you practice every day at 3 o'clock and you do that long enough, it'll actually become more and more automatic. Number 3 is be objective when you practice. Don't just noodle around the whole time. I mean, playing around with pop songs and things can be fun, but just make sure that you are working on what is going to get you the furthest ahead. And I usually recommend starting with like problem areas. So say there's a scale that's always giving you a lot of trouble, start your practice session from that scale. I would even keep a list of things that you want to accomplish during the practice session and go down that list, because if you're objective, you'll be able to accomplish a lot more in a lot less time. Tip number 4 is that you can add in fun things in your practice to make things more interesting, like your favorite pop songs, or maybe like an introduction to a show that you like, or maybe you just like a certain exercise. Make sure during each practice session you're at least spending a few minutes on something you actually like to keep the motivation high. Number 5, learn as much music theory as you can. You saw it with the chords in the beginning of the lesson, but there's scales, arpeggios, there's chord progressions. There's so many other things to understand about theory. And by understanding them, you'll be able to learn music a lot better, and you'll actually understand what you're playing. Now it's time for the final tip, and just like all the other tips, it's just as juicy and just as important as all the others. Do you remember in the beginning of the lesson when I said that learning to read music is super important, even if you're a casual, no matter what group that you belong to? Well, a lot of people think that it takes a long time to read music, but it really doesn't. In fact, it takes just one afternoon. You can do it in maybe a couple of hours. Watch this lesson right here. It's going to give you everything in depth of what you need to know about reading music. And then there's even a link to another video after that one called The Fastest Method to Reading Music, where I dive even deeper into some more advanced note reading strategies. But start with this one right here. Your piano teacher, Tim here. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you so much.